What's up? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I'm Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me have some more RPG horror stories. I've seen the comments, I've seen it all, and I see that y'all want more of Mary. Perhaps we could do something that's not just RPG horror story related. Maybe we can cover some homebrews together. I think that'd be pretty good. Either way, let's get some RPG horror stories for today. The session with 2 nightmare players. I'd like to precursor this by saying that at this point I have played 3 sessions of D&D 5e over a year. I would also like to say this is my first time meeting this friend's partner for all of us. This happened just over a year ago. Me and 6 friends had arranged to meet up and start a campaign. Out of these 6 people, 4 of them I had played with before. 3 of them we had started a separate homebrew campaign a month before, but we left there and started new. The other guy had played with a different group with a year prior where we played a test D&D session with 2 other guys. Out of the other 2 people I kind of knew one of them, but I had limited interactions with them, and the other person, aka the nightmare player, I had never met. So one in the group was going to be the GM, we'll call her Rose, and she had planned a homebrew session to play. However, the day before Rose said she couldn't host or be GM, but could play if someone else would, I took over the GM role and another player, we'll call Jamie, hosted us. I decided to very quickly prep a first session and use the Lost Minds of Phandelver campaign to do this. I took a few liberties and decided to alter small things to fit in 6 players and to add in some of my own ideas. I keep seeing stories talk about Lost Minds of Phandelver. Is that like the classic OG thing that everybody just kind of defaults to for D&D and stuff? I never played it. I should play it sometime. Anyway, we all commune to Jamie's house, and something I decided to do was let everyone build their characters out of Lego minifigure parts I had in a tub. During this, Jamie and other player, we'll call Matt, found an orb-like piece which set off a little joke and decided to include this into the campaign, adding this idea of a cursed orb that would corrupt whoever owned it. This will come into play later. 2 of the players were late arriving. This was the nightmare player and their boyfriend. They then started telling us it was because they woke up late, and then the nightmare playing started telling everyone, again I repeat, none of us had them met before, that they had woke up so late they hadn't even brushed their teeth. So we started playing, and within the first few minutes the nightmare player, we'll call Yaz, and the partner we'll call David, asked Jamie if they could vape in the home. He said no, but they could outside. And this set them off, and every few minutes they would get up, leave, go outside vaping. This meant we had to keep pausing, which caused problems as we didn't have a massive amount of time to play. You know, people can just set up vape breaks, smoke breaks, or whatever if you really needed to. You could just be a little patient, maybe like every hour have like a vape break or something, not every few minutes at the table. We carried on playing and got through the first encounter, which was probably about 10 minutes and lasted a short while. After this, Yaz decided they were hungry and asked their partner David if they wanted to go to the shop over the road, to which he agreed. They asked if the rest of us would like to go, and we all said no. Wanted to play D&D. They said they were going to the shop. We said we were carrying on without them due to limited time we had. Yaz and David then left. Yaz leaving completely barefoot, which struck us as weird. And then returned at this point, the others had advanced down a narrow path and fought a couple of orcs. When Yaz and David returned, I joked that they had slipped away to get freaky, which we all laughed about. They caught up and they entered the dungeon all together. Shortly throughout the way into the dungeon, David's character died after taking a lot of damage from getting ambushed and falling down a chute after rolling in at 1 for acrobatics. This is where the partner Yaz went up to his body and decided they wanted to skin it and wear his skin. This was told to me and I was not asked if this was okay. I just chuckled this off saying, okay. This is where they started to creep me out a bit. We then let David make a new character, and we introduced this character after they left this small dungeon. It said he was someone who was trying to hide in their cart. All of a sudden, Yaz and David's character were now in a relationship. I just warily agreed accepting it and hoping this wouldn't have issues. This is when it went to crap. The group had then asked around about some stuff, and Yaz decided David was not allowed to talk to any female NPCs, then they would kill them if David did. At this point, I had enough. I just kind of went whatever, and I didn't feel like I knew this person enough to call them out and ask them to calm it down a bit. Yaz then kept making joke after joke about their character engaging in sexual acts, to which we all found very unusual. During the session, they also came to a point where they were facing off against a few orcs. Yaz decided that they were going to have such crazy sex with an orc, it would either scare them into running away or kill them. Try to put a stop to this by saying, oh, well, these orcs are celibate and don't engage in sexual acts. Then begged repeatedly to do this, to which Rose also joined in begging for me to let that happen. I just pushed through, and that Yaz rolled, to which they succeeded. I said the orc ran off, and that was that. This really brushed me off the wrong way, and I felt very uncomfortable after this. Yeah, it made me feel very uncomfortable. Why is one player wanting to essay an orc, and why is the other player cheering them on? This game is such a flashbang. We have one player that is begging to essay an orc to try to scare them, or I guess kill them with uber banging. And the other player is like, no, let her do it. Just let her do it. I want to see it happen. Why? Why? Why is this suddenly turned to weird fetish game? We gotta essay orcs. I feel like Yaz and Rose connected in the worst way possible there. They had such a connection over this and just, ugh. Anyway, let's continue. The controlling behavior over the partners and constant leaving to vape continued throughout the whole session, but it became a little more toned down as I started to restrict them now and thought they went too far. After this session, I said something about playing seriously and all agreed. However, Yaz then left the group chat before session 2. David then said that Yaz just didn't want to play with us anymore and we just accepted it. Now if you think this is where the story ends, oh boy, are you wrong. Moved on to the second nightmare player of this session, Rose. Turned out a reason Rose could no longer be GM was because her and her boyfriend, a player in our game, who we'll call John, had been having some relationship problems and were on the edge of breaking up. That a massively toxic relationship. During the whole of this session, Rose kept making problems between her and John, causing constant arguments with him and constantly making it everyone else's problem. This pissed John off a lot and put him in a very, very sour mood, caused him to just not care about playing anymore. Rose would also make weird sex jokes and beg for their jokes or weird actions and Yaz's actions to happen. I shut them down quite a few times, but they were just getting really weird. Alright, yep, never mind. Rose and Yaz definitely made a connection. A weird sex fetish obsessed connection that I just really don't want to read more about. We will probably end up reading more about it, but like, yeah, there's some really weird vibes I found with it. Nobody just in the right mind just cheers on, woohoo, essay the orc, let her do it, DM. Who the fuck says that? Also, if you're gonna make any sex jokes, at least make it tasteful or somewhat funny or somewhat clever or zany, not just weird. Then they decided that they wanted the corrupt orb I had mentioned prior. This orb belonged to Jamie's character and linked to his backstory, but they wanted it. They kept begging to steal it or fight them for it, causing a bunch of problems that just wouldn't stop. The first I let them attempt sleight of hand, but they failed. But they just kept asking, and I told them no, which they disliked. Then they kept trying to flirt with NPCs to get their way, which I put a stop to several times as well. This continued through the next 2 sessions of this campaign we played. At this point, we were now playing online and David and Yaz had both left. Rosen started to tell me that Yaz had been saying stuff about our party and the session, which was negative, and started to say that Yaz was pissed at us and hated us and was trying to invite Rose to their own campaign and party, where they could do all kinds of freaked up stuff they wanted. I felt bad, I had no contact to Yaz, so I reached out to her boyfriend, David, and sent an apology saying I was sorry they felt excluded. I just wanted to play somewhat serious without all the weird sex stuff. They wanted to still play, they could. They responded saying Yaz had never said any of that stuff, but he invited Rose to a friend campaign where they aren't serious, and Rose was just trying to cause unnecessary drama. And this was true. Rose did this for months, but after a lot of stuff outside of D&D. Also bonus, in a prior one-shot a couple of weeks before, Rose had stumbled upon a dwarf village to which they seriously asked if they could kidnap some of the dwarves and start a sex ring of dwarves. I declined this very quickly. I wonder if it's like Lord of the Rings, except Lord of the Dwarven Sex Rings, the Dwarven Cock Rings? I don't know. Anyway, my brain's rotting. Aside from having a difficulty reading through the story, Rose sounds insufferable. Yaz sounds really rude, honestly, but I think Rosie is the biggest problem. As soon as she heard Yaz trying to come up with some sort of sexual related thing, some sort of sexual innuendo, immediately she's like, yeah, essay the orc, DM, let her do it. Jesus, it's just insane. Clearly Rose just had his pent up stuff going on, and as soon as there was just a little bit of wiggle room, they just went full pervert. Just not a half pervert, full pervert. And not even full pervert, just straight up degenerate. There's one thing to be a pervert and to be like, oh, you know, sexy stuff is kind of my thing. But another thing is to be a complete and utter degenerate and just be like, essay the orcs, everyone. Start a dwarven sex ring. Damn, I think you're better off without playing without a Rose. Maybe let David play. I don't know. If Yaz and David can correct their stuff and not be so disruptive and just interruptive, I think it'd be fine. But definitely stay away from Rose. That's what I would say. Get to the next story for today. Guy decides to impress me by role-playing his struggle snuggle savior fantasy. Oh my god, what a title. Hi, I have ADHD and my writing is kinda long and chases rabbits, so I just heads up before getting in that it's a bit all over the place, sorry in advance. So this all starts in my in-laws board game TTRPG store. They have a small one where plenty of people come to run various games, and there's some scheduling ones that store itself runs. We have plenty ran, everything from D&D and Star Wars to Perils and Princesses and Monster of the Week. Help at the store and play in some of those games, and currently I'm working out the courage to run my own there, but oh boy, that's scary. Anyways, despite being small, we have a ban list. We didn't think we would, but after the first one, a Valor Thief mega racist who tried to take my in-laws' pick between their trans child, aka my spouse, or him, some sweaty-ass misogynistic crap talker who liked starting fights but couldn't back it up, he was booted out. We quickly figured out we probably should start making a code of conduct and also, you know, have a ban list. Anyways, this isn't about the first guy, it's about the second guy. Now, second guy we'll call Kyle, because as much as I would absolutely use his name, I straight up forgot it, teehee. He was a regular at the store who had problems. He was a very, very bad socially, even compared to others, even compared to me. Autism and anxiety and ADHD ahoy. Got that AAA insurance. He was one of those vibes are off kind of dude. Not in a, ooh, he's dangerous and creepy kind of way, but more of a, yikes dude, can you not way. He would do the weird flirt but not flirt thing, where he would talk himself up by putting others down or say I worked too hard and would constantly invite me to games while I was, you know, volunteering at the store. He would do this while knowing I'm married and wearing a ring. He would ask weird questions about my spouse, going down to their medical history and trying to find out what they look like based on what I told him. He wanted in on my relationship. One of those, I wanted to be the meat in a lesbian sandwich types. Meat in a lesbian sandwich? Is this a lingo that I'm supposed to know? Kyle would harass people playing their own TTRPGs and tried frequently to weasel his way into the games. I watched him one time walk up to one of the store benefactors, one of the owners, and straight up tell him his Star Wars character was all wrong. And here's how he would do it, and that he was stupid and didn't know how to play. He talked to ad people, would come in and not buy anything, just mildly infuriate people. My in-laws would talk to him, gave him warnings, and they both have their own social and mental issues, so they were very patient and tried more guiding, gentle correction. He was very much one of those socially inept but make it everyone else's problems type. I am AFAB 27. I'll very much admit I'm curvy. I get told a lot I'm cute, pretty, etc. I look like a girl. I sound like a girl. I probably smell like one. Thing is, I'm non-binary. I just kind of turn it off when I'm at the store because I just don't want to deal with correcting people and stuff all day. I don't want strangers to harass me for my gender. I just try to blip under the radar. I already got heat from the first guy for being a lesbo, so I just didn't want anything like that again. Really, only my friends and family knew, but it's fine. But I've long accepted that as long as I work or volunteer in any form of retail, I'm getting hit on. During one of the Star Wars games, one of my friends who runs Vampire the Masquerade at the store, for myself, my FIL, and a good friend mentioned they may be thinking of having one more space open so the game didn't grind to a halt when one player couldn't make it out. Kyle heard this and leapt on the DM, and the DM tentatively said yes, fate is sealed. I guess behind the scene, he and the other friend, the benefactor in-game, were maybe trying to help Kyle to socialize. We wanted to give him a chance. The one thing you don't want to do is suddenly bring in somebody who's going to be a massive disruption to your D&D table to get him socialized. No, you do it outside, and then after they finally corrected their mistake, or if they even want to participate, then you can probably bring him in on other stuff. Typically what happens is I don't want to bring in somebody who's going to be disruption, that's going to be making it worse for the other players, because at the end of the day, that would only be a problem. I don't want to treat my D&D game and have my other players deal with this and turn this into some sort of a therapy session or some sort of an acclimation session for somebody. If you want to come in here and join in, you're more than welcome to. If you're going to be disruption from the very get-go, no thank you. But turning your game into an acclimation session for somebody who's clearly going to be disruption just to try to get them to practice socializing is only okay to do if everybody else is okay with that. Otherwise, it sounds like a really inconsiderate thing to do with your current players. I wouldn't agree with this move. Game day comes. I'll find exactly who the new player is, and I sort of just accept that something is gonna happen. But I did want to give him a shot. Who knew? The whole thing about the store is making friends. Hell, I assumed it was my anxiety just making me imagine warning signs. He comes in with his character that he rolled up at home, a super techie NOS, I don't know what that is, with a boss who is an already established very important character. That's fine, I guess. except he wants to make sure that this character is a very hot woman. Busty, bigger than him, mean, very mommy-dommy is what he specifically wanted. DM is like, I mean, she's just like that. She's a powerful vampire in charge of a huge section of the city you all live in. I'm pretty inexperienced with the game, and I don't know any factions well other than my own, but my character was a tall, black goth woman gangrel who was moody and had an affinity for rats for a special animal. I tried having like a connection with Kyle, saying like, oh, how funny you have a character that also has a rat connection. Tiffany also controls rats. I thought it would be fun, like an urban environment vampire stuff. And he kind of just looked at me like he was upset that I also had rats. Okay, whatever. Benefactor friend couldn't make the game. FIL did, so we began. Who is FIL? Friend in Lebanon? I don't know, honestly. Fiend in laboratory. I have no idea. I don't know what it could be. I can already feel the bad energy. Our character is supposed to do the classic new character meet of Kyle's at a massive vampire nightclub. Music, lights, cage dancers, the works. My character is talking to FIL, a vampire Roman Catholic priest, and instead of having any sort of like normal introduction to our characters, Kyle decides he's gonna be a creep. His character gets right up against mine, funny when she is 6'2" without her 4-inch stompers on, and was eavesdropping only on Tiffany, and then whispered in my ear to simulate his character's whispering in Tiff's ear something pertaining to the current mystery. My character then turns to throw a blank haymaker, misses, and the father holds Nas and rips into him because, well, his character rolled before declaring he dodged me, but stopped dead in his tracks for the father. That's my actual father-in-law, and not only is that creepy, but the father is also very controlling and doesn't like people being creepy in his vicinity. After some back and forth, my character making it very clear she's already didn't like Nas, some more chatting about story stuff, we figured out we need to talk to the owner of the vampire nightclub, the Baron, the hot vampire important character. Nas decides the best way to do this as a weird way to win favor with me, I'm not stupid, is to look for people spiking drinks. He rolls first, saying his stupid high number, and declares what he is doing. There's a lot of lingo spread around, so I'm assuming Nas is Kyle's character. Maybe, I think. Tiffany is OP's character. FIL, I think we have the character being the Roman Catholic priest or whatever. I'm not fully sure, dude. There's a lot of name drops happening. I'm trying my best to keep up with it. Whoa. The DM mentioned the club has vampire security everywhere and the place has high reputation. But after continuous needling from Kyle, finally relents because DM is very non-confrontational. He makes up one single guy doing it. Kyle rolls again, then declares he goes over and completely crushes the dude's hand and threatens him violently in a vampire nightclub. Security gets him after he makes more and more threats. Then Nas tells the girl he saved all about how he saved her and tells her somewhat graphically what the spiker was going to do, but that he saved her. Then told her that her drink for the rest of the night were on him. Kyle seemed blindsided when the DM had the victim say she was just going to go find her friends and leave. He then insisted on buying her a drink after what happened. Girl said, I mean, after they almost being drugged, I don't really want anything to drink. Nas then needled the fake. They use the word needled. I don't understand why they're using the word needled. What is needled in this situation? Is that like actually like a proper use of the word? Is it poked and prodded? Is that what it is? Is that what the definition for it is? Like, well, I guess synonym for it? Poked and prodded? Is that what it is? Nas then prodded the fake girl he made up, getting drugged until she accepted him buying her cab. This whole show gained the attention of the Baron, who we finally got to talk to. The Baron is supposed to be scary. She's intimidating. She tortures lesser vampires to get intel. You know, lesser vampires like us. You're supposed to treat her with respect and such. He instead badmouthed the club she owned, while at the same time claiming this was his boss, and immediately having simp behavior towards her, who seemed utterly uninterested. This whole time, he and FIL, who later apologized, talked over me the whole game. The father being snappy to Nas saying some, oh, FIL is father-in-law. It's father-in-law. Oh, now I get it. The whole time, he and father-in-law, who later apologized, talked over me the whole game. The father being snappy to Nas saying some nonsense about some stupid overly powerful connections he had, Nas not understanding that the character was supposed to be morally gray but good in general, Nas talking over the entire building to be his tech lair that was supposed to be an unhoused person shelter made by the father, not their character, something that had been going since session 1. and setting it up with the cameras everywhere, even in the bathrooms, because you can't trust them all to not shoot up in the bathroom. I entirely shut down. The DM was too busy wrangling Nos and the father that I quit talking, and it didn't matter. I went on my phone and quit interacting, and not one even noticed. When game was called, I didn't say anything and left. Later, I messaged the DM and told him that if Kyle wants to keep playing, I wouldn't be there, and DM immediately agreed. Everyone talked since Kyle, and when they gave Kyle the news he wasn't coming back to another game, he blew up DM's phone asking why and what he did wrong, and then told he just kept saying he didn't do anything bad that he didn't understand. DM explained more. He didn't get it, he stopped a struggle snuggle from happening. DM explained more, but I don't get it, why is this bad? I read a lot of sentences in this situation, and I kind of realized that I'm reading sentences without realizing if any of this makes sense. Basically, the game was really bad, nobody really had fun, there was too much arguing at the table. OP basically decided, nope, I'm done, I don't want to have this guy there. The DM realized, yeah, I don't want to have this guy there either. Finally breaking news to Kyle, Kyle's like, but I did this, but I did that, what did I do wrong? And doesn't realize that they are the problem, and they're making things worse for everybody. I mean, father-in-law having to spend time arguing with Kyle the whole time probably didn't make any better, but maybe it would be better without Kyle there. I don't know, I feel like Kyle is the kind of the antagonist in the story at the moment, which I mean, they did do some bad behavior in general, just being rude and obnoxious, and just adding Kyle was just not a good idea for this one. And yet again, another Vampire the Masquerade story that goes kaputs. We never have one that goes normal. It always goes kaputs. The next day, he went to the store and began harassing father-in-law while he was at work, and did the same thing, asking why he was kicked from the game. Father-in-law explained it. DM happened to be in the store and in person explained it. He just couldn't fathom how self-inserting his fantasy and how he would cheat by rolling first and claiming what he was doing and behaving inappropriately at the table wasn't acceptable. Finally, father-in-law got fed up and said he was banned and to go play somewhere else. They tried helping, and this was just the last straw. He was already in his fifth strike. Fifth strike? Guys, it's strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, you're out! What game has 5th strikes? Why do you give 5 strikes? Father-in-law and mother-in-law try really hard to give people a lot of chances, especially those that they see themselves in, but even they couldn't handle him anymore. Hope he's doing better. I hope he also never talks to me again. Well, I guess it goes to show you probably shouldn't be adding random problem players into a game as like a little rehabilitation project for them to get acclimated. Some games could probably use for the sake of acclimation, sure, but not the games that you want to play and have people actually physically play with. If the game is not intended to be a acclimation to social interactions and social norms and social faux pas, then don't use it like that. Simple as that. Because that just ruins experience for everybody. Instead of Kyle just being a regular player and people moving on, and this constant fighting and rolling of the random dice and trying to create problems and doing this and that and just making the entire thing just a disaster for everybody. Like, if you know somebody's a problem, if you know they have some sort of a weird thing to do socially and they're just not that good with people, don't invite them to people-oriented games. Simple as that. If you want to try to help them, figure that stuff out outside of games. Don't take a problem player and put them into a game where they're gonna be, you guessed it, a problem player, because that's what you're going to get. And with that, that's gonna be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales Tomorrow. Bye-bye.